Last night, an urgent report came in from the residents of a Florida village. A herd of wild hogs had already ravaged 2 cornfields awaiting harvest. If they struck again, an entire family's hard work would be reduced to ashes. The moment we received the alert, the hunting team sprang into action. Massive tracks pressed into the soil, deep gashes tearing tree trunks. Every sign pointed to a new wave of attack approaching. We couldn't afford another second of delay. There was only one chance to stop them before the entire harvest was lost. Early in the morning, the 2025 Ford Ranger came to a stop, and the team immediately took their positions according to the pre-planned strategy. With years of experience, I marked the paths the wild hogs usually took. Bait was placed at precise points, like guiding needles, leading them straight into the trap. Every calculation fell perfectly into place. When the herd appeared, they paid the price for their recklessness. In that very moment, a silent declaration had been etched into this forest. That swift and decisive opening instantly lifted the team's spirits, igniting hope that the crops could be protected.
1, 10.
The remaining hogs proved exceptionally cunning, hiding deep within the forest. We moved silently, spotting fresh tracks, clear signs they had just passed through. And there it is! Through the binoculars, I locked on, my heart racing. A swift, precise move controlled the target, ensuring both safety and the protection of the crops in full compliance with regulations. Do you think this maneuver demonstrated enough skill and embodied the true spirit of community protection? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The relentless chase shook the entire forest. Bent grass indicated that the hogs weren't running chaotically, but moving with purpose. An attack was being orchestrated. I immediately signaled the team. Positions along the approach were already set, waiting for the dark shapes to appear. And then, they charged. Simultaneous fire erupted from multiple directions, each shadow controlled with precision. Once again, the skill of reading tracks and the composure of veteran woodsmen successfully thwarted the assault, protecting both the area and the villagers' crops. Continuing the search, we spotted large tracks at the forest's edge, impossible to ignore. Whether deer, bear, or hog, Kevin warned, "If we don't approach now, it'll take at least an hour, and by then, the prey will have escaped." Thanks to quick thinking and seamless teamwork, the team managed to control and neutralize all the wild hogs lurking nearby. Even a single moment of hesitation could have created serious danger, but today, the team's skill and experience ensured the safety of both the crops and the villagers. We checked for new signs, and each lone hog was quickly brought under control. Every shot fired was not only in full compliance with US law, but also served as a firm, resolute warning to these ferocious beasts. Fresh mud on the leaves indicated that the herd was large and moving fast. We closed in, deploying additional checkpoints to ensure no hog could escape. As expected, these positions held the most targets. Thanks to clear guidance and coordinated tactics, every move was under control, and we maintained full dominance over the situation. Before heading back with our spoils on the 2025 Ford Ranger, we made one last sweep along the edge of the field. Suddenly, the wild hogs reappeared. Another attack erupted. After a tense skirmish, the team responded in time, safeguarding the entire crop. The locals could sleep peacefully, while we departed with racing hearts, but full satisfaction, knowing the mission was accomplished. We successfully stopped today's assault. Thanks to the local authorities' approval, this operation went smoothly. Yet, judging from the fresh tracks, this was only part of the herd. The battle to protect the crops is far from over. The northern forest woke up under a veil of early morning mist. It looked peaceful on the surface, but the ground told a different story. Uprooted soil, snapped young trees, and deep hoofprints led us to one conclusion: the wild boars were back. Locals had reported a destructive herd tearing through the forest's edge, leveling an entire strip of land. There was no time to waste. The team leader immediately called us in. Gear check, ammo loaded, scopes aligned. The hunt was on. But this wasn't just a chase. It was a battle of wits between man and the most cunning beast in the deep woods. We moved slowly, threading our way through thick forest growth. Suddenly, a rustle ahead. The team froze. Our scouts radioed in. A herd of over 10 boars was feeding just up ahead. Without hesitation, the leader signaled a split. One group flanked left, while the others spread out and began setting traps. Then came the cue, a crackle on the radio. All rifles fired in unison. The opening volley was surgical. A few of the lead boars went down instantly. The rest scattered in chaos. A solid start, but today's hunt was just getting warmed up. After the first shots, the herd vanished into the deeper forest. But that was expected. The escape routes had already been calculated and trapped. Soon, one of them bolted right toward my position. I adjusted my scope, waited for the right second, and bang! One clean shot. Game over. That's the thing about hunting. Reading the terrain and predicting the escape path is everything. The echo of that shot had barely faded when another dark shadow dashed past in a blur. I couldn't let it get away. I gave the signal. One teammate swung west to intercept. As the boar burst through the brush, my partner was ready, scope locked, finger steady. One shot, one drop. A perfect tag team moment. What did you think of that shot? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. By midday, we switched to plan B, releasing the hounds to sniff out what was left. The dogs took off like rockets, weaving through the forest with noses to the ground. Moments later, a flurry of barking erupted from the northeast. I followed the sound with my rifle raised. A massive boar was caught in the center of the dog pack. Tracking every move carefully, I waited until it was clear, then squeezed the trigger. Direct hit, down before it had a chance to bolt. But we weren't done. The dogs pushed deeper into the trees. Another burst of barking, this time near the forest edge. That was our cue. Something else was hiding. I approached slowly. There, between thick branches, a boar was trying to escape the tightening circle of hounds. I adjusted my scope. It made its move. I made mine. The shot hit home. It crashed to the forest floor instantly. Flawless execution. 1 second of hesitation, and it would have gotten away. We had started packing up. The day seemed done. Then, just as the hounds returned, a monster burst out from the bushes, charging straight for them. I spun around, brought up my rifle. Only a few meters away. Bang! The shot roared, and the beast staggered, collapsed just feet from where I stood. Way too close. A second slower, and we could have lost one of our dogs. This forest hunt was nothing short of intense. Ambushes, tactical flanks, point-blank encounters. Every moment demanded teamwork, calm nerves, and absolute precision. We strictly follow local hunting regulations and operate only in licensed zones. All footage is captured as a real documentary of our hunts. Raw, honest, and unfiltered. Have you ever witnessed wild boars destroying crops firsthand? They don't just eat the corn, they trample, uproot, and destroy entire fields. This time, my close friend called me in a trembling voice. "Come back quickly, the wild boars are here, wrecking everything." When I arrived, I was speechless. His whole field was in ruins. We couldn't just sit there and watch this devastation unfold. We made up our minds. We would go into the forest and hunt down these destructive creatures. Stay with us to see if we can pull it off. The strategy meeting was quick. Each of us had a task, a position to take. Guns, binoculars, GPS, and of course, the hunting dogs were all ready. With everything set, we moved toward the enemy's turf, determined to show no mercy. It wasn't even fully daylight yet, but we had already taken our positions in the marked areas. I was stationed on the middle of the hill, where I could easily keep an eye on the surrounding land and break the wild boar's formation. Then, it appeared. A dark shape slowly walked out from the bushes. I held my breath, locking onto the target. 1, 2, and 3. The bullet sped off, making the boar pause for a moment. It tried to scurry away to find shelter. I stayed calm, watching the target quietly. A few minutes later, the boar collapsed in the bushes just ahead. I let out a quiet sigh. The journey ahead would be tough, but stay with us to see what happens next. While I was locked in combat with my target, a shadow suddenly rushed forward. The previous shot had alerted the other boars, and chaos ensued. Fast as lightning, one of the boars came into Jack's line of sight. The distance was perfect. Boom! A shot that echoed through the hills, quieting the madness around us. We exchanged glances. That was a perfect timely shot to stop the oncoming danger. We moved toward the next hill. This area had thick patches of grass, not too dense, making it an ideal hiding spot for the wild boars, but also a perfect place for us to take them down. There it was, the wild boar, startled, charging out from the thicket. I held my breath, watching carefully, waiting for the perfect moment. It paused, and that was when I squeezed the trigger. The boar dropped instantly. At this point, chaos unfolded before our eyes. A barrage of shots rang out. Sensing the danger, the remaining boars panicked and scattered, fleeing deeper into the forest. Plan B was quickly set in motion. We pushed into the woods, determined to track down the wild boars. We weren't gonna let them escape. The terrain presented significant challenges for us, making it hard to spot the wild boars. Suddenly, the familiar sound of footsteps caught my attention. My senses were instantly on high alert. My heart raced. I took a deep breath, aiming my rifle in the direction of the noise. At that moment, a shadow shot out like an arrow. Headshot! The boar dropped instantly, before it could even make a move toward me. Radio crackled with a report from my team. An enemy was closing in on my position at lightning speed. I could hear it, footsteps approaching. I raised my rifle and waited. Then, as expected, a shadow emerged from the trees. I pulled the trigger. The shot rang true, taking the boar down. We weren't about to let anything threaten the peace of this village. If it came anywhere near us, there would be no mercy. As the sun began to set, we moved toward the edge of the forest. But we stayed alert. The boars were still nearby, and they could attack at any moment. Sure enough, the sound of rustling leaves caught our attention once more. There it was! A familiar silhouette appeared, and with a swift shot, we brought it down. The boar staggered before falling to the ground. It was the perfect ending to our hunt. In the dense tangled forest, where sunlight barely breaks through, wild boars find the perfect place to hide. Every year, they destroy nearly 800 tons of crops, causing millions of euros in damage to farmers across Germany. Their numbers are rising rapidly, and so is their aggression, turning them into an urgent threat that can no longer be ignored. In response, Thomas and his hunting team are called into action, stepping up to defend both the harvest and the people who depend on it. But going up against a smart and dangerous enemy like the wild boar is no ordinary task. So, how do they prepare? How do they strike? The intense battle that follows will reveal everything. At the break of dawn, swift footsteps moved quietly through the forest, sealing off every corner, leaving no path unchecked. As each hunter reached their assigned post, they stood ready, fully alert for the battle to come. They didn't have long to wait. A pack of wild boars suddenly emerged, snaking through the trees, heading straight toward Thomas. The moment he caught sight of them, he squeezed the trigger, dropping one instantly. The rest of the herd scattered in panic, crashing through the underbrush. But Thomas wasn't about to let them vanish without a fight. Without hesitation, he signaled the other positions, determined to stop the intruders once and for all. From another position, Leon spotted a wild boar on the run, darting across his line of sight. Without hesitation, he took a single precise shot. The target dropped instantly. A clean execution, completing his mission with flawless precision. Moments later, gunfire echoed from all directions, signaling that more fleeing boars had been taken down. The forest, once tense with movement, now settled into a quiet calm, restored if only slightly, by each well-placed shot fired with purpose. Meanwhile, Thomas was still on the move, tracking every sign, following fresh traces through the underbrush. After a short pursuit, his sharp eyes locked onto a wild boar, hiding silently among a tight cluster of trees. He took aim with care, and with one swift, decisive shot, he brought calm back to this part of the forest. Indeed, the title of the team's top marksman is no exaggeration. Nothing escapes Thomas's eye, and nothing gets a second chance. By 3 p.m., they were already back out, this time positioned on the southern hillside. Thomas quickly moved into place, scanning the terrain with sharp focus. Suddenly, the bark of a hunting dog broke the silence, snapping his attention toward the sound. His eyes locked in just as a massive wild boar emerged from the brush. Without hesitation, a single sharp crack echoed through the trees. The beast dropped instantly beside a nearby bush. A swift, clean takedown, powerful and precise, like a warning shot for whatever else might be lurking. Pushing deeper into the terrain, Thomas's eyes never wavered from the mission. Suddenly, a panicked boar burst out of the underbrush, sprinting blindly across his path. The moment was there, and Thomas pulled the trigger without delay. It was over in an instant. The last animal lay still on the gravel, motionless. Another season's crops, and the people who defend them had just been safeguarded. As the last light of day faded beneath the dense canopy, a wild boar stepped into Leon's sights. Just a few gunshots echoed through the trees, and the target was instantly neutralized. A clean, decisive takedown. The perfect ending before nightfall settled in. What did you think of that final shot? Was it raw instinct, years of honed skill, or both? If it were you, do you think you could have pulled it off? Drop a comment below and let the team know what you think. Your support keeps us going. Central Florida backcountry, where the thick palm forests and muddy wetlands create the perfect battleground for wild hogs to run rampant. These beasts multiply fast, invading gardens, wrecking irrigation systems, and leaving heavy damage in their wake. Faced with the threat of losing entire crops, landowners turn to us, hoping to reclaim their land from this invasion. A challenging hunt lies ahead. Join us as we embark on this heart-pounding pursuit. Before dawn fully breaks, our truck quietly rolls toward the forest where the wild hogs usually begin their destruction. With seasoned experience, we know their habits and active hours inside out. Every detail is meticulously planned, each step, each breath, carefully measured as we move into ambush positions. Minutes later, the target reveals itself. Steady on the bead, I squeeze the trigger. Quick, clean, decisive. The beast drops instantly. That opening shot, dead on, fuels our resolve to restore peace to this land. We press silently deeper into the forest, tracking fresh hog prints in the damp earth. Not a sound escapes as the team locks onto the trail, eyes sharp, scanning every palm thicket and shadowed nook. There it is, I whisper. Like muscle memory, I raise my rifle, line up the shot. The gun cracks, a clean hit, and the hog falls on the spot. Elsewhere, Kevin skillfully sets bait to lure the herd into view, choosing an ambush point with clear sightlines. As the hogs gorge, he quietly takes aim at the biggest one. A shot rings out, the target drops, and chaos erupts among the rest. Seeing Kevin's tactic work so well, we quickly expand our trap network and split up to cover key spots. This section is ours to protect. Once again, hogs fall into our traps, and with swift, decisive shots, we neutralize more threats, helping preserve this land from destruction. Meanwhile, at a frequent hog crossing, Kevin's crew stands ready. The moment targets appear, a precise shot drops one. The rest panic and bolt, but every escape route is blocked. Ready rifles cut off their getaway, ending their desperate flight. Following tracks, Kevin freezes, spotting a large gathering of hogs. Without hesitation, he fires, taking down one beast. Quick on the reload, he tries to press the attack, but the herd outsmarts us, slipping deep into the woods. Determining the direction, Kevin signals us to move deeper into the dense jungle where the hogs vanished. The tangled terrain and thick brush make tracking nearly impossible, if not for our hunting dogs. Guided by the dog's barks, suddenly, a giant hog bursts out. Instinct kicks in, finger tightens on the trigger. The beast drops cold. Pushing through dense palms, we hunt down the survivors hiding nearby. More sharp shots ring out, each one a message. This land is no longer safe ground for wild hogs. That morning, my teammates and I had just stepped into Jack's family field when a massive beast suddenly appeared in the middle of the clearing. It plowed through everything in its path, tearing up crops belonging to families all around the area. Without a word, we immediately geared up, locking in our weapons and preparing every piece of equipment. It was a race against time to protect the harvest. Would this mission succeed? Let's find out. Weapons firm in hand, we followed the freshly printed tracks pressed deep into the soil. As we climbed toward the ridge, Jack suddenly paused, scanning the terrain as if he held the whole hillside in his mind. The moment we spotted the target, I signaled him. The scope was dialed in, a perfect window, so we pulled the trigger. Right then, the entire battlefield opened up, and the first strike to defend this land was unleashed. Moments later, more targets poured out. Every sharp crack of gunfire echoed across the slope, holding back wave after wave of wild hogs threatening to charge toward the village below. We quickly divided the hillside and set up ambush points. On the western side, Kevin lay perfectly still, waiting for his shot. Minutes passed in silence, though distant gunfire rumbled from other angles, but he stayed patient. And finally, his target arrived. All pressure exploded in a single shot. The beast never had a chance to launch its rampage. A fitting end for something bold enough to challenge the guardians of this land. A few remaining hogs lurked near the upper ridge. Jack and I moved into position, setting up long-distance shots. Each blockade was executed with precision, taking down the isolated stragglers one by one. This firefight wasn't driven by thrill, it was driven by a shared purpose, saving Jack's endangered harvest. Today's hunt didn't rely on just us. Jack's four-legged partner joined the mission. With keen instincts and coordinated pressure from both man and dog, the giant hogs were flushed out into the open. Conditions were perfect. Every well-placed shot brought the exact results we needed. This area was finally secure, and Jack's village could breathe easy after this intense purge. By this time, we knew exactly where the remaining herd would try to hide. Step by step, we closed in, waiting for the perfect moment. It didn't take long. The shot rang out, swift and final. Death's door opened, leaving the beasts no chance to turn back. Their escape route was severed, and peace returned to the homeland. We made our way back as the afternoon sun began to fade. The air was still, almost frozen. Yet hogs, both lone stragglers and entire groups, kept pushing out from the brush. I locked onto each one the moment it appeared. Target acquired, target down. After a few hours, the remaining herd was fully contained. The mission was complete. Livelihoods had been saved from the storm of destruction brought by the wild beasts. Today's battle was a journey of courage, a fight to protect the hard-earned harvests and the lives built on this land. Every drop of sweat, every shot fired carried its own sacred weight.